Good evening, PBA 510 classmates and Dr. Herzog. I'll be doing my presentation this evening over the 5 external challenges of human resource management, and the challenges that I will be discussing are accessibility needs, issues, availability of workforce, of workplace diversity, training and development, and changes to laws and statutes. Accessibility needs and issues deal with systems, information, employees, and accommodations. And first, with systems, it deals with, does the organization have the funds to keep technology updated, such as desktops and cell phones, mobile devices, if they are able to have mobile devices. And accessibility to those things is very important, because if you don't have accessibility to your technology, then in these days you don't have accessibility to anything. I mean, files, important files, because most organizations are going to electronic files. And another thing that has been brought to the attention of organizations today is the cloud, and that's just something that they can store, up above their heads, just in case computers or something crash, or if the mobile device isn't able to hold the files, they can always log into something like Dropbox to access something. They can access the file that they want to look at, and that goes into information. And it goes into the second thing of information, and how accessible is the information, such as manuals of events and promotions. People might want to come in and see a manual, or better example, employees might want to look at the handbook. Something went on at work that day, and they get home and they want to view the employee handbook. Is it online, or do they have to go into the office and actually open up the handbook? And that's crucial in today's time. And events, for example, the Christmas parade that was supposed to go on this past Saturday, it was canceled due to weather. And how did everybody know that? It was announced on the news, it was in the newspaper, I'm sure it was on the website, and that was very accessible for everyone to see and find out, because there was a lot of questions as if, is it going to go on? And it goes into employees. Organizations need to know where employees are located at all times, and this is crucial, because if employees aren't readily available, or if the organization does not know where the employee is at all times, they can't determine if they should call a certain employee to get a task completed. Going back to the information aspect of accessibility needs, I used to work or intern at the city of Nacogdoches, and my big project was to try to get every employee in the city of Nacogdoches an email address. And you would think in this day and age everybody would have an email address, but not all employees have an email address. And the purpose of that was to be able to send pay stubs and information on insurance through email. Right now, they're still doing it by paper, and it's very time consuming to do it by paper, because if they could just shoot emails out to those employees, they wouldn't have to worry about coming in and getting their paper stubs or waiting on somebody to hand them out. And insurance, I remember going to the fire department and helping the director help the firefighters sign up for insurance. And it was a pain to them, because they had to come in off of their job and sit in this presentation about insurance, and if they wanted to sign up for this and sign up for that, when they could probably just do it at home and sign up for insurance. Because a lot of those guys, they just want to keep the same insurance, but they had to come in and tell somebody that, rather than replying in an email saying, hey, I want to keep the same insurance, thanks. And the final aspect is accommodations. And accommodations deal with the facilities of an organization. Are facilities easily accessible by the general public, and are they easy to navigate? Going back to another example, when I was an intern at the city of Nacogdoches, I had a lot of people come by and ask me, hey, where do I pay the water bill? And if anybody has been to the city of Nacogdoches, the city hall, it's kind of difficult to find out where the water department is. So every day I probably had 6 or 7 people, hey, where do I pay my water bill? And that's a challenge that Nacogdoches has to face. They need to figure out a way to let people know where their water department is, or have a better route, because there's 2 or 3 different entrances to go to the water department. On to availability of workforce. This deals with required skills in education, retention and recruitment, and recruitment costs. And starting off with recruitment skills and education, a lot of organizations do have required skills in education that they want before they hire somebody. But with the new millennials that are coming into the workforce, most of them don't have skills, but a lot of them do have education. So sometimes organizations may have to sacrifice the experience part or some of the skills that may be teachable. But that's a challenge. That's a big challenge that human resource managers have to face. And I think the bigger problem than that is the retention and recruitment aspect of things, because there are some predictions that there will be a lot of people looking for new jobs when the economy improves. And that goes back to the saying that the grass is green on the other side. And necessarily that may not be true. It might be safe just to stay at the job they have, but hey, more money may attract people to go elsewhere. And today's employers have to find new ways of attracting talent through social media and posting on job boards, and still using traditional methods such as attending job fairs. And it's not bad to go back to the traditional aspect of recruiting, because you still have a lot of people go to job fairs. Even at SFA, you'll find a ton of kids at job fairs, and I'm sure organizations do still have a lot of success going to those job fairs. And this new generation of employees wants a job that balances work and family and the ability to make a difference within the organization. This is important because people want to feel important, but they still want to be able to go home at 5 o'clock rather than working from 8 to 8 or working 16-hour shifts. They want to be able to go home to their family, but still feel like they can make a difference at their job over the years. And retention of employees has become tougher for employees than for employers than any other time in the past. Employers are advised to identify their key employees from entry level to upper level management and take the appropriate steps that are unique to their businesses to retain these individuals. Employees should consider merit pay increases, projects that increase an employee's responsibilities, and other benefits like flex time, telecommuting, or technologies to keep employees happy. Going into workforce diversity, this discusses or deals with age, race, ethnicity, religion, and disability. Talking about age, you have a lot of the baby boomers retiring, and then you have new millennials entering the workforce, and you have this huge gap that's trying to be filled because you got baby boomers that are still in the workforce but not really wanting to change or deal with technology, and you have new millennials that are pushing for change and wanting better technology. And diversity is crucial for any organization. I don't care if it is a big gap in age, but it's crucial for organizations to have, because an organization's success and competitiveness depends on its ability to embrace diversity and realize the benefits of having that diversity in their organization. Once an organization can handle diversity issues, they will experience increased adaptability. And all that saying is, when environments change constantly around organizations, and if you have many different people in your organization, this will allow you to adapt faster, rather than if you had one dominant demographic that may be blind to the fact that they're having a changing clientele coming in to their organization. And it also allows the organization to have a broader service range. You really want your organization to be representative of the community, because, for example, I read a case yesterday that this health organization was falling behind because they could not service non-English speaking, I guess you say, Spanish speaking clientele, and they couldn't keep up with that because they didn't have anybody that was bilingual. And in their strategic plan, they never even planned for the changing clientele, and plus their board members that handed down these orders never even thought about the clientele changing at all. So, but if the organization decided to be more diverse, they wouldn't even have to deal with this problem. They could have clicked along smoothly. And the last benefit of diversity is the variety of viewpoints. When you have different people in an organization, everybody has a different viewpoint about a certain topic. If you lay a certain topic on the table, everybody might look at it differently because of their culture, the way they were raised, and by age. I mean, different, or their religion. So this is good for organizations to have because they'll be able to accomplish this smoothly. Now, talking about training and development, this deals with training costs, training methods, training for succession. And training costs, this is a touchy topic for some, or not really, but this is usually a cost that gets cut first because some organizations now are not really valuing training that much. It says here, with the need to cut training costs, training itself often suffers, but the employee still needs to be taught. And that's the thing. You can cut training costs, but what happens when you bring in a new employee? You still have to teach them something. So what do you throw them into the fire and allow them to teach themselves, or do you kind of take the time out to train them? I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of things that happen when you try to cut training. So many companies are addressing this challenge by providing e-learning opportunities that allow employees to receive the training they need without expenses associated with travel, on-site trainings, hours away from their jobs, and high-priced materials. I know I've experienced e-learning back at home at Finish Line. I really didn't sit at work training all day, but they gave me a login and the password to go into this program, and I was able to do this training at home. And within a day or so, I was able to go into work rather than sitting at the physical workplace at a computer trying to do as much training as I can in an 8-hour shift. I was able to go home and do as much training as I could. And that goes into training methods. How do you want to train them? Do you want to use e-learning or something online, which I think would be beneficial to a lot of organizations that are cutting training costs? But the biggest thing on training and development to me is training for succession, and that is bringing up somebody to take another leader's position. This is something I don't think many organizations are starting to think about, but it says here the workforce is aging quickly, and this is leading to many HR teams to consider putting formal succession plans in place and begin more emphasis on developing future leaders. Successful companies that work on leadership development will also make strides with better employee retention. And this is very true. I heard a story from a guy that works in a certain city that there's an employee that has 30 years of experience, but he's been pretty much working by himself. So if he was to retire today or something was to happen, nobody would know how to do his job. And this is very crucial, and I thought that was kind of appalling to me because I was like, well, I mean, he was a very important aspect to the community. So what they are trying to do is bring in a younger employee to so the guy can take under his wing, so he can take his place. And if they don't do that, then they're going to have to pay pretty good money to come in, have somebody come in and actually try to figure the job out or do the job when they don't even have that much money in the first place. So training for succession is very important. You have to bring up leaders to keep an organization running smoothly. Finally, we will talk about changes to laws and statutes, which are mandated by government agencies, and they deal with communication to management employees, adapting to changes due to political atmosphere, and know the Constitution. Communication to management employees is important because laws are changing all the time, and if management does not stay on top of this, organizations can be performing certain things illegally and can get them in worlds of trouble in the end. For example, like I said before, I was an intern at City of Nacogdoches, but one day I had to go and switch out a lot of posters that dealt with minimum wage and FMLA and things of that nature, because if the City of Nacogdoches does not let these employees know their rights or what they're able to do under federal law, then the city will get in huge amounts of trouble. And so this was when I had this assignment, I had to do it as quickly as possible. And they also need to make sure to adapt to the political atmosphere. Donald Trump just got elected, so there's going to be a lot of things changing over the next few years that management needs to make sure they stay on top of. They need to make sure they do the research on what Donald Trump and his administration will be doing. And finally, they should know the Constitution. This is something many people do not think about, but you should know the Constitution because you can violate some things that you didn't know that you're violating if you don't study up on the Constitution. Being knowledgeable, I mean, you can't really stress it enough. You have to know the Constitution. Because it's very wordy and it's very technical. You can't just go in there and it's like, well, it does say this. Well, technically, you can't do that. So, do a certain thing. So, it's just crucial that you know the Constitution, know the federal laws, know every law you can. Because if you do at the end of the day and communicate this to everybody in your organization, you'll be just fine. But once you think you don't need to know all those statutes and laws and whatnot, you're going to get in big trouble. So make sure you do that. All right, I want to finish this presentation by recognizing my references. One of my biggest references is the Human Resource Director here at SFA, Loretta Doty. She made a presentation in a professional development class, and it really influenced me to make this presentation. It was super good, and I felt like everybody needs to know this material. HR affiliates, Society for Human Resource Management, Course Park, and the Terra Nova Consulting Group helped me make this presentation, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. And I'm sorry for my stuttering. I do stutter a lot.